All right, we are live. I believe episode 6 of this iteration of Revenue Alert. We're joined here. I have Val D'Souza, VP of Operations, KemperSports, and fortunately for me, one of the first people I got to meet and get to know during my plunge into the golf industry. Val, thanks for joining me. Happy Friday to you, sir.
Yeah, happy Friday to you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
And where in the world are you right now?
I'm actually home. I just got off the road a couple days ago from the Houston area, so I'm back in the office in Frisco, Texas.
All right. And being in Frisco, have you had a chance to go over to the Omni Frisco HQ at all and check out some of the golf Disneyland that they've put together over
Yeah,
there?
yeah. I've been over there to see how they. I've been over to PGA District. We had the PGA of America had our annual meeting over there this year, and it was great to go over there and see the entire Omni and have our entire association come to Frisco for our big annual meeting. It was fun. It was nice, and it was beautiful. They've done a great job over there. It's nice for our association to have a home that is in the central part of the U.S. And obviously, being a Texan, very happy it's in Texas.
Yeah, have you always been in Frisco, or did you see that project kind of come to fruition over a few years, or how'd you were you
Yeah,
involved in all in that process?
I did. I got to see it come out of the ground. A good friend and mentor of mine was the designer and helped get it done for the PGA, and it happens to be right across the street from my daughter's middle school and high school, so I did literally get to see it come out of the ground and get built. So it's been pretty nice, pretty fun. Again, as a proud Texan, having my association call Frisco home and have it 2 miles from my house is pretty cool.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I got a chance to go in November, I think, for the NGF conference and see some of the magic they have there. And then I was just back a few weeks ago. And I feel like every single time I'm there, there's a new bell or whistle or gizmo and gadget
Yeah,
because it really does. It's a special place and it's cool to see, just golf Disneyland, as I said, get celebrated, from technology to operations.
right.
Um, but Val, appreciate you joining. I know we had a chance to connect a little, maybe a year and a half ago, as we were getting the ball going with Kemper Sports and thinking about rolling out the virtual Tea Time Assistant. I think you maybe even get the trademark for coining that phrase there.
Yep.
But as I really enjoy getting to know you and the way you see the world and the way you think about operations. You've been in the game for a long time. Maybe just open up, how'd you get into the game of golf, and what was that process like for you earlier in your career?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, like many golf pros today, started with young, junior golf. My dad kept me around the game when I lived up north, when golf was only a 5 or 6 month a year sport. Then when I moved south and could play golf 12 months out of the year, it happened to be right before high school. So, put all of my channeled all my competitiveness into high school golf and became very hooked on the sport. When I became old enough to work, I got a job at a golf course. I've only worked at a golf course my entire life since I was 14 years old. So it quickly became a way of life. Worked for a great mentor there that sat me down and explained what I had to do to become a golf pro if I wanted to continue on in a career. So went to a PGA golf management school, New Mexico State. Graduated there, got my degree in marketing, which I thought would be a great degree to have in a sport like this, in a business like this that is highly competitive. Being able to build brands in a very competitive industry. And then obviously the teaching was something I was very, very passionate about, which is why I wanted to be a golf pro. But that's how I got into it. And that's how I kept going. And it was so much fun that I just took the best advice that we all hear out there, which is chase a career that is fun and you'll never work a day in your life. And I've had fun the whole way.
That's awesome. Yeah, you say that word brand, and that's an interesting word because I remember I used to work for a big consulting and technology company, and when we would think about brand, there was this phrase that stood out to me, which was, a brand is what you feel when you say that name,
Right.
right? I'm curious for you, you obviously studied marketing with the context of golf. How do you think about brands with your courses? Obviously, you work for KemperSports, one of the best brands in all of golf management. How do you think about brand with your operator? And I mean, maybe curious for you if that still resonated over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the things we do at Kemper Sports and why I've stayed with this company for 18 years. I don't know that I ever thought I'd be with one company for that long, because in this business, you generally move around to properties and you may change companies. But we're so proud of the fact that we get to champion our owner's brand over and above Kemper Sports, right? Some people don't understand how truly big we are, because we are constantly building the brands of our owners and individual golf courses. And that's very fun for a marketer, because I have, several properties in my portfolio. So I get to build several brands with our regional marketing team, our home office marketing support. We get the best practices from a company that has, 150 golf courses, but we get to apply those to individual brands and build that. And what you said really resonates with me. And it's the core belief that I have in building brands is, when you see the logo on a shirt or a hat or in the golf shop, it should make you feel a certain way. And that is what makes us successful, is we're very focused on building a brand that when a golfer walks into our shop or and sees that logo or sees it anywhere, it makes them feel their last golf experience, right? How they felt playing a beautiful golf course, how they felt making a long putt or shooting a great score, uh, and wants to go back, right? When you can make your brand have an emotional reaction inside of somebody that's positive like that, you've won the game. And then it's not easy, but it becomes as easy as it's going to get, getting customers to come back, because then they become your storytellers and your brand ambassadors. Because as we all know about golfers, and you're one and I'm one, we love to talk golf. We love to tell golf stories. And that's where our brand is carried into workplaces and in churches and, dinner parties and holiday parties, where golfers are talking about their experience at our facilities.
Yeah, it's funny. I have this shelf behind me, and it's kind of cheesy. It kind of is like it's a little goofy, but what's funny is I have it ordered in like a story. So
Yeah.
I have, a logoed Pro V of like my high school, which
Mm-hmm.
somehow I got from somewhere, and then I have like a logoed Pro V of my college, and then one of, you know, uh, my first logo of Noteefy, and then I think I even have. Um, I have a Kemper Sports ball up there, right? It kind of tells a story to me, and it's funny that there are golf balls with logos, but every time I see one of those logos, I almost remember putting the ball in the shelf and why I put it in that order and what that meant to me.
Right.
So I think it's kind of a funny thing that a logo can make you feel a certain way, right? Whether it's Apple or Tesla or Ferrari or even Nike, like
Right.
do think at a very small level there are courses that can unlock that.
Well, yeah,
I
because
saw, yeah, go ahead.
we truly look at golf as an experience, right? It's not transactional for us. I mean, whatever facility we operate, whether it's a destination resort or your local muni, it's still an experience. And it's unfortunate that not everybody has that philosophy, because regardless of where you're playing golf or how much you're playing golf, you're choosing to spend your recreational time with friends, families, where you're going to create memories. Some are lifelong memories. And it's up to us as an industry to take that moment and make it memorable, so so that logo ends up on a wall like that. It warms my heart to see those logo golf ball racks, because that's been around since the beginning of time in golf. And it's cool because um, you having that ball rack behind you is always going to remind you and create those emotional reactions, which we want. So yeah, we want all of our logos on those walls and in those golf ball racks across the country for people to play our courses. It's the coolest letters I ever got in my career when I was a golf pro, was people sending me a letter saying, I collect, logo golf balls or scorecards. Can you please send me one? And the answer was always absolutely yes, right?
Right.
Just get it out to them, because I know it's going on a golf ball rack like what's behind you, right? Or
Yeah.
even bigger. And that's what we want to be. And if they had a story, in some cases, we would try to create a story out of it, so that when you're
Yeah.
telling your friends about every ball on that rack, we're a part of that story.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like, the best balls are the ones that's got like a big green marker on it.
Yeah.
Like, one I have a Riviera ball because I got invited there to play one time and I got a couple birdies. And so
Yeah.
when I got a birdie, I immediately put that in the bag. And I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
this ball is never seeing the light of day again because I may never get another birdie at Riviera.
Yeah. Right. Right. Right.
I saw that you guys did a new rebrand or change for Buffalo Creek. What went into that, and how did you think about? Obviously, that's a storied course; it's family owned.
Yeah.
I'm sure the family cares a lot about the brand of the course. How did you guys think about going through that brand transformation?
Yeah. And it's a great question because it took a lot, right? Because the family it's a great family. The Perry family started high end daily fee golf in Dallas Fort Worth with bringing uh, Weiskopf Morris to design this gem out in Rockwall, Texas, and had a great vision for the future. And when we got the golf course, it wasn't that, and the family hired us to bring it back. And so we've been taking them on this journey since 2020, and we started during the pandemic. So we started at the most scariest and inopportune time at that point when we didn't know what was going to happen, and then brought it back and restored it. Um, then the last part of this was the logo, right? How do we refresh the logo? How do we change it? We really started with a blank canvas of what are we going to do, and so we canvassed the entire golf industry on logos that had a buffalo in it of some sort. Then we checked beyond the industry where the buffalo was used, up to and including the Buffalo Bills, right? And then we went through several rounds of voting and iterations. We really wanted to stay modern and clean and simple to where we can have a simple, iconic logo that looks good on apparel, and creates that emotional reaction and without the words Buffalo Creek. So that if you know concept. But we also created several logos, and the owners were heavily involved because it is their brand, and they are very emotionally connected to it, as they should be, and what makes them a great partner for us. And what we love working with our owners because we allow for that input, and we welcome the owner feedback and input to come out to the desired outcome. And I've always believed healthy debate is the right way to get to the right solution. And so there's quite a bit of that, and we got to several iterations of the logo. So it's not just confined to one logo. There's some logos where you'll see the Buffalo Creek Golf Club, some you'll just see the Buffalo Creek, and then some just the Buffalo. And we're gonna test it out and see where they perform best, and that's how we're gonna go the next few steps of finalizing it down. So we're really almost not done. Yes, we did the refresh and launched it, but we're still gonna now apply it to different applications and see which ones the consumer tells us they get that reaction from.
Yeah, I have a bias. I kind of like the just Buffalo. I feel like that's kind of cool. And if it's kind of like you might be walking down the street and someone sees Buffalo, like that Buffalo, and you're like, wait a second. I
Yeah.
love Buffalo Creek. That course is great.
Yep.
I went
That's
out
what
to
we
visit.
want.
Yeah, I went out to visit Sand Valley last year. I don't know if you had a chance to
Yep.
to go to Sand Valley. Obviously, the Kaisers, they care a lot about the brand, and KemperSports plays a key role in that. Um, but it's very interesting. They put a lot of thought into the logos, and I got my mom a quarter zip with just the woolly mammoth on
Yeah.
there, and I'm like, nobody's gonna recognize this unless you're in the 0.1% of
Yeah.
golfers who's like, wait a second,
Yeah.
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
So I'm curious for you. You mentioned COVID, right? You've been in the industry well over 20 years. I'm sure you've seen ebbs and flows. But what was it like for you as an operator with your portfolio from, call it, February 2020 to maybe February 2021? What was it like for you over that 12-month period?
Yeah. So it started scary, right? Because you're talking about people's health, and we all had that personal connection of who we worried about first, and then our people, our staff out in the field. Um, then all of a sudden, golf courses are closing. Governments are shutting down anything that was non-essential, right? Non-essential businesses. So at that point, we've got golf courses all over America, not just in our company, but everywhere, just being closed. And every state had different rules and regulations. And so the scariness of, okay, where is this going to go? What's going to happen? Then you go into the first few months of it. We start to understand what this thing is, and how being outdoors and away from people where you can socially distance is okay and acceptable. But then we also started realizing, after we'd been, quarantining for several weeks, that we as human beings, and this is something that's folded into our true service training program that we use at our properties to create that experience. Human beings have to be social at some level. Some need it more than others, some thrive on it more than others, but every human being has to be loved and cared for and has to have social interaction with other people. Doing it virtually was a band-aid for a little while, but eventually people had to get outside, had to be around their friends, they had to be in their community. And that's when the world started realizing how great golf was, which was phenomenal for us as operators, because for years we'd been trying to re-educate people that golf was no longer that country club sport that maybe it was back in the 80s and 90s, and was limited to a few. It had changed a lot by the time the pandemic came up, but it was such a difficult image to change people's minds until something like that came along. And then when golf was the only thing, one of the only things you could do to go get fresh air, play a sport, be physically healthy, mentally healthy, it also got people reacclimated to how much fun it is to walk a golf course. Most golfers, 90% probably are riding in a cart now, whether you're public or private or resort or whatever, wherever you're playing, most everybody's riding, myself included. We all started the game though walking, and so I think a lot of people started to. We did see in the industry a new passion for walking, which I think is really cool. Whether it sticks or not, I don't know. I think it's become seasonal. Obviously, as you can imagine, in summertime that goes down a little bit. Um, it was just really nice to see, and then you keep going through the pandemic, and then all of a sudden the new faces are showing up. Right now, the rest of the world is seeing how great golf is, and the golf courses are starting to get flooded by people that maybe have never swung a club or just done it at a Top Golf or a putt course or whatever. Now they're showing up and they want to play golf. And in most of my career, I got out of school in the late '90s and stayed in this business forever. Most of my career, we as an industry have been battling oversupply. Too many more courses than there were golfers. In about a 5-month, 6-month period, that flipped, and there wasn't enough tee times as there was golfers. And all of a sudden, everything changed. And then what's been great is it's continued to grow. And those golfers that came during the pandemic are still here. They're even more passionate than ever. They've brought great industry minds like yours and what you're doing to think about different ways to get people on golf courses. So it's brought technology advances. It's brought teaching advances. The PGA show, you were there this year. You saw what I saw. The amount of technology coming to the sport, both in getting golfers on the course and enhancing golfer skill, is pretty much what dominated the show, which is really cool to see as an industry that hasn't been the most technically advanced for a while.
Yeah, I mean, a lot there. It's probably was almost like a whiplash, right? I mean, you're probably dialed into the micro during that year where you're like, hey, how are my people doing? Let me make sure we can stay both physically and financially healthy. It's almost that crisis management where you're in the eye of the storm and it's kind of hard to pull out. But I'm sure once the dust started to settle a little bit and you started to see that those rounds get back, it almost reminds me a little bit of Airbnb, where obviously overnight their entire business was effectively wiped out because nobody was traveling to strangers' homes during a global pandemic.
Right.
But then around June, they started to see trips near your house, especially to like the outdoors, skyrocket.
Right.
So they totally repivoted the business to have like experiences within a drive.
Right.
And I think I heard Brian Chesney, who's this founder, he said one day in like June or July 2020, they had one day that was back to 2019 levels of booking. And it
Yeah.
just kind of shows you that almost crisis creates new opportunity. I've heard folks tell me many times that there would be no business for Noteefy if we were in a 2018 golf environment because there was an oversupply problem, not an over
Right.
demand. So it
Yep.
is pretty interesting. And I love what you also said about the walking versus riding.
Yep.
Actually, just yesterday, I got out there at 3:30, snuck out, and I got 18 in at the local muni down the road. And I just walked the course with my best friend. And what's interesting is when I ride, it feels like you don't even really have time to catch up because you're like hitting the shot and then you're over here and then you're over there. You have 30 seconds at the tee box. How's the
Right.
family? How's the dog? How's your job?
Yep.
When you're walking it, you're really hanging out for 5 hours, right?
Right.
And that's kind of the magic of the game. I think that's one of the most beautiful things about it is the camaraderie that you build. One moment you're backslapping about a 250-yard shot you hit onto the green, and the next you're, frustrated about a shank. But I think
Right.
that's all part of the beauty and the fun of it. And it's cool that you've kind of seen it all the way. I noticed you were a PGA professional and a pro and a director of golf. How did you make that leap into golf management and ultimately into running a portfolio of courses as an operator?
Yeah. So it's an interesting journey because I obviously got into this business because of my passion for the game and teaching and watching golfers become better and then the life journey that golf takes them on, which is what I really love to see. Still have students that reach out to me for advice on golf trips and equipment and whatever. And love helping them. Love teaching the game. The only thing I probably miss about it is not teaching the game as much anymore or at all. Um, but what happens is I've always had this philosophy, Jake, that um, if I ever stop learning, I'm going to get bored really quickly, and then I won't have fun, and then this job won't be fun. So I challenge myself to learn something new every day, whether it's a piece of technology, software. In today's world, I have a 16-year-old daughter, so I'm learning a lot about pop culture these days, and just what the world is like at that through her eyes. I got into different things like climbing and all kinds of stuff. I still have my passion for golf, but that's basically why I got into running clubs. Is when I felt like I became a senior level director of golf and ran a great operation, and I got to open the Tom Fazio course in El Paso for KemperSports. Um, that was the first chance I had to start it right and do it right and keep it right. Then I quickly had the opportunity to um, take on more and um, expand. So I got into food and beverage. I had to help an operation that was broken in that. Got into understanding accounting and finance, and then didn't really get into understanding agronomy other than on the science side of it. But got into being able to work with a superintendent to build a golf experience that is fun, challenging, but not beating up golfers. And then it just became a natural progression. My general manager left, and I was offered the opportunity to take the helm and lead that club, and I did. So from that point, again, same thing, 8 years at Kemper Sports, where we have the freedom to create our own brand and be entrepreneurs. We elevated that brand, had a great team behind me that I worked with for many years. So then I was able to go out and help other properties. And then that became something new. I kept learning more from different properties and different brands and different challenges of their markets. And so became a natural progression to then that became very exciting to me, and I just went down that path because it gave me an opportunity to learn more, and that's what I do now. And meeting people like yourself and investing in learning is what kind of drives me now because I don't ever want to stop educating myself and learning.
I love that. Yeah, that growth mindset as an athlete, I feel like is ingrained in you, right? If you're a golfer, if you're, I wrestled. So if you're a wrestler, like you just got to get a little better every day, and then let compounding kick in. And it sounds like you as an operator have that mindset of let me get a 1% better every day. And now, you're running an awesome portfolio.
Yeah.
I know we're at the top of the hour. Do you have a hard stop? Do you got to run?
I do, but I've got a few more minutes.
Okay, cool. So maybe let me ask one or two more questions as you wrap. You see a wide portfolio of properties, different shapes and sizes. What are some of the trends you're seeing in 2024, whether it's technology, whether it's through, on-course playing, but what are some of those big tactics that you're seeing that you're excited about looking ahead?
Yeah. So the first and foremost is golf has not slowed down. We call them, the COVID golfers are active. I was worried, Jake. I think I talked to you about this at the PGA show that the holiday season of 23 was going to be kind of a litmus test for me of where do people go with their disposable time and money during the holidays. And we would start seeing it during the holidays where if they were traveling, they wouldn't be playing golf and they wouldn't be engaged. But it was the opposite. Holidays, when the weather allowed it, obviously it's not the best time of the year. We had great months across the company and across the country, specifically in most of my region, which is Texas. Golf was alive. It was thriving. It was COVID golfers, and the whole golf community was spending time and money at golf courses, and all golf, right across the board, anything that had to do with golf. So that's the first trend of 2024. Q1 was very successful. Very happy with the results we saw, where weather was same or better. Um, Now what I'm seeing is again technology. We're seeing a lot of your generation coming to the sport, investing in technology, using the technology. It's making operating a lot more efficient. Things like the virtual tee time assistant, GPS on phones. We're seeing again, we've known this is going to happen. The trend of booking online is continuing to escalate, but also the trend of booking from mobile devices is escalating at the same rate, which we're happy for because we can be 2 taps away from somebody getting a notification that a tee time just opened up to booking, right? And that's what we as operators want. Instruction now has never been better. There's so many people teaching the game. There's a lot of good technology. As an old school teacher, I do wonder of where we cross that line of too much technology and too much information because going back to my teaching days, we as instructors have to be able to stay on the athletic side of a student's brain and not the analytical side. Because if we put them in the analytical side and they try to play that way, they're going to get very frustrated. So the art of teaching now is how do you use the technology to make your points and show them what's happening in their golf swing, but then have a strong teaching philosophy to keep them athletic and in that frame of mind where they see and react to targets and let their natural athleticism produce the golf swing that is authentic to them. Um, that will be very interesting to watch, right? We as KemperSports get approached by a lot of technology companies. We're getting approached. I head up our national player development program. And so I review a lot of teaching apps and instruction apps and all kinds of things. And it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. We're still early in that phase, but I'm very interested to see how that goes. There's a lot of good stuff out there. And then we're seeing a lot more social business coming back to the golf. The pandemic did slow down our social business. We do a lot of weddings and parties, and people understand golf venues produce beautiful sites for banquets and parties and weddings and life moments. And again, we're in the experience business at our properties, and that's how we like to build our brand too. It's not just golf. If they have the outlets to do banquets and lifelong memories, we want to host those too at our venues. And starting to see that come back strong now too as well, which we're very excited about.
I definitely say I'm a victim of the analysis paralysis, where I have to regularly remind myself to just be an athlete and just hit this stupid little white ball and try and go
Yep.
that direction. Because
Yep.
as soon as I start thinking about the swing plane and my elbow position and the hinge,
Yep.
that's when I get the chunk 15 feet.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's hard to get better if you're not making those technical improvements, right? You kind of
Yep.
plateau. Being an athlete only gets you so far.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but that's exciting, Val. I appreciate it. That's it's been really fun working together over the last year and a half and change. But maybe I'll leave you with one last one. What's next for you? What's next for Kemper Sports? And do you guys have? Is there anything looking ahead that you're really excited about?
Yeah, growth is a big one. We as a company are growing fast. We've acquired some big names and destinations and resorts, but also some really strong properties in regional markets. So we are growing fast. That's always exciting because that's new brands, new owners, new properties that we get to grow and develop. Um, we've done a great job, Jake, rehabilitating properties and brands that were mistreated and misused prior to the pandemic when there wasn't enough golf and business to be had. Um, that's exciting, right? There's like Buffalo Creek as an example. It brings us a lot of joy as a company to see the Perry family watch their brand, their golf course, their vision come back to life. That's super exciting for us. There's more of that for us. Our business development team is busy because there's a lot of the phones ringing a lot. Um, I'm really excited again, heading up our player development committee for the company. I'm excited to grow the game, right? I'm a PGA professional. Um, I wake up every day excited to grow the game. And how do we get more adults that haven't figured out how wonderful this sport is for themselves, their kids, their families, getting them into golf and starting their golf journey? Those are the things that I wake up excited to do every day.
Well, you might get some unsolicited swing videos, and I'm gonna ask for some feedback and see. You're gonna have your work cut out for you, but we'll put
Yeah.
that old teaching pro to the test.
Yeah.
But
Well, I've got to test the map, so I'll get you on there.
put me through one of your gizmos and gadgets and see. You're gonna need a lot of red flashing lights, I think. But Val, I appreciate the time, man. It's been a lot of fun working together, and I think the best is yet to come. So thanks again for the time and for all the insights.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thanks for being a great partner. It's been fun working with you.
All right, cheers, brother.